Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, my guests are a band and film collective that I found about a year ago. And I was driving in my car on a perfect day. I swear to God, it was sunny. There were rainbows. And a song came onto my queue called I Love Everything. And it was just like the perfect song for the perfect day. And it happened to be by this group called the Shy Kids. The Shy Kids include Patrick, Walter, and Matt, who is known for having technical difficulties with his laptop occasionally. And but yeah, they're from Toronto, Canada, and they've been making music and being a collective for is that 10 years now? Almost 11? 2012?
Probably. Yeah, I think almost 12 at this point, because I think 2011 was when we initially got together and started writing songs.
Wow. So what came first, the music or the filmmaking?
We met at university. Walter and I were in film school together. Matt was at the same university studying radio and television. So that was kind of the catalyst for it all, was our interest in visual storytelling. And then the band kind of was birthed from looking for something to do.
Oh, wow.
On the side.
So did you guys all want to do film like growing up then, basically? And that's why you all ended up being in college? Or was college like a thing just kind of as a spur of the moment decision to go to film?
Walter wanted to be a priest. He's told me many times.
Yeah.
Priesthood to film.
I think I just enjoyed that there was somebody. I wanted to be a minister, just to be clear. But priests haven't had the greatest century. And I wanted to be a minister because I really liked the guy who got up and told stories every Sunday, and everyone had to listen to him. And so I feel like I was just looking for some sort of job that everyone had to listen to me for a set time. And so in high school, I met this person who told me that if a teacher has to roll in a TV, that you get a higher grade because they're not going to roll in that TV for no reason. So I just turned most of my projects into little movies or like little raps and stupid little stuff like that. And then from there got accepted into university for filmmaking. But as we were kind of doing that, I had a band in high school and I just kind of wanted to do that again. So I talked to the only people that I knew who would talk back to me. And then we started a band.
Oh, hell yeah. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I did a lot of theater in high school. And then on my nights off, I would go home and I was learning to do animation. And so when I was coming out of high school, theater to me wasn't really the direction I wanted to go, but I did love doing like post-production and editing and animation. So I felt like there was kind of a marriage of the two practices in film. And that's why I went to university for, yeah.
Hell yeah. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I grew up skateboarding a lot. And my brother and I and some friends, we'd always like grab our parents' DV cam and shoot us skateboarding with like the fisheye and everything. And like just doing that, I used Windows
Movie Maker?
Movie Maker, that's what it's called. Yeah, Windows Movie Maker. And like you kind of go through the process of understanding like editing and those sorts of things and putting music underneath. So that was like my introduction there. And then similar to Walter, I'd like use those skills. Like if there was an English project, I'd always do a video if it was possible, like a video essay or something like that. And then when I was in high school, my parents got me a guitar for my birthday because I wanted to play the guitar. And I just like jammed on the guitar for like 4 years straight, and slowly started messing around with recording. It's when I started university, more or less.
Nice. So
Our films were sort of famous. He had a very popping video game parody.
I have successfully kept this from anybody talking about this for years. I took them off the internet and everything.
That's so weak of you.
They're really bad. When I was in I think middle school to high school, I would write these parody songs, Weird Al style, about video games.
What were some of the hits?
There was a parody of Lips of an Angel by Hinder. It was Lips of an Admin about Counter-Strike.
Nice. Any other
Hey There Halo parody of Hey There Delilah.
sick? Can you sing a little bit of Hey
yes,
There?
I want to hear that one. Halo.
Hey There Halo, what's it like in?
How many hits did you get there, Pat?
We were up to some of them, the World of Warcraft one, which is a parody of Cascade's Every Time We Touch, I Get the Spirit. It's called Every Time I Wow. The titles left something to be desired. That was over 1 million.
Oh, shit.
It was early YouTube days, though. Early YouTube days.
Damn. You should have kept it going.
That's like more views than like most of our songs.
Every couple years, I'm like, could I start it up again? I just feel like now the internet's a much different place.
Wordle doesn't have any great songs, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Good point.
But yeah. So yeah, I had been messing around like Matt with recording and figuring out audio production, going into university as well. And then it all just kind of melded together at the right time.
So did you guys all graduate in the same year and everything as well?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow. So it was just a perfect match of everything.
It worked out. I mean, Walter and I.
Oh,
did we
Matt's
lose
gone.
Matt?
No.
Famous for his technical difficulties.
We'll add him back when he appears in.
All right. Do you want to the story of how we made music together for the first time?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, so I kind of only peripherally knew Pat, and he, we lived in residence, which is like where you live on the campus, and they had a talent show going on, and it was a very snowy night, and we saw all the different people who were in the talent show, and nobody was that good, and only peripherally knowing him, I'm like, do you have any talents? Can you do anything? He's like, I can play guitar. And I was like, what song can you play? And he's like, Baby Got Back. And I was like, I know all the words to that one. So we sang like a folksy Baby Got Back, which is who did that? Some guy
I want to say it's Jonathan Colton.
Jonathan Colton shouts out. And yeah, so we played that song and we won the talent show, and then we're like, ooh, this is profitable, because we got a gift card out of it. And so yeah, then we just
What was the gift card to?
Oh,
no.
So they had a lot of options.
this is it. What we wanted, a gift card to the LCBO, which is in Canada, the communist country that we are. You can only buy liquor at this place called the LCBO, which is the Liquor Control Board of Canada, Ontario, sorry. And so the university was like, we can't give students $200 liquor
Gift
cards. So instead we got like a Visa, like one of those prepaid MasterCards or Visas.
Mm-hmm.
And spent it all at the LCBO.
Yeah. So
wait, so how does that work again? You guys can't get it in grocery stores or gas stations?
We can in limited grocery stores now. We can, as of the last 3 or 4 years, but then it was just strictly at
I think the LCBO is actually the highest seller of one place of liquor in the world, because they control the flow of liquor. It's crazy. It's like a crazy system.
Why do they do that? Just to make money or
But
what?
sweet, taxable. It's like if it's government run.
Yeah, it's like a monopoly on booze. It's a pretty good monopoly to have. But yeah, I don't know. But anyways, so it was profitable from the get-go. And then Matt lived on my floor in residence, and we weren't actually like that close of friends, but then he was living in an area called Kensington Market, which is where I was living. And he had this, he would always make songs in university similar to like the thing we were talking about of he had these projects where he would like, I remember one, I think it was like a grape soda, was like he had to do an advertisement for grape soda, and it was just like a really cool like song where it was like soda.
Yeah.
And it was a cool song. And so yeah, we just kind of willed making music together. Through
That's awesome.
those humble beginnings.
So how long did it take you guys to like come up with a name? And did you have like different names at first, or was it always Shy Kids?
I mean, I don't remember any of the ones we had, but it was talked about a lot. I think before we even had a song.
Yeah.
It's like,
Were there any other names we had?
I swear to God, there's like Ruby and the Goldfish or
Ruby,
something.
yeah.
That's awful.
Please.
The Mowgli's was in the Apple, like the iTunes artist field for a while.
Right.
You
I
were the
don't know.
Mowgli's? I thought Mowgli's are already a band.
I think that might have been why we stopped.
No, it was well before that. I don't know. And even Shy Kids, it's like one of those names where you're like retroactively like I heard the Arctic Monkeys talking about their name where they're like, it is like such a bad name for a band. But in some ways you kind of like my name's Walter, which is like a crazy name to give a child. But you kind of, you grow to like, in some ways, like love your name like a tattoo that.
Suck. Yeah. I'm not saying your name sucks. Yeah, I get it though. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's just like Shy Kids puts a real expiration date on.
Yeah, at 30, it became increasingly more difficult to like seriously say it to.
But then you think about the Beach Boys and like, they'll always be the Beach Boys,
Mm-hmm.
Even with Brian Wilson being much older.
You could be like the Shy Men, or that kind of sounds.
That
sounds weird a little.
A lot of people call us the Shy Guys, which is
I'm okay with it.
It's just like the Backstreet Men. It doesn't quite,
It's like when they've kind of heard of you but don't really know who you are. You're like the Shy Guys or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, worse than that, like, I mean, the biggest arguments we had was like the capitalization question, and the official spelling, in my personal opinion, is Shy Kids, no caps. That doesn't just mean I'm not lying. I mean, like, no capital letters, no uppercase at all, because it looks like shy and small and quiet.
Right.
But yeah, people have changed it and write it in all caps and stuff. You gotta just, as long as people are saying your name, that's the hard part.
100%. So in like some of the album covers and pictures of you guys are like wearing masks. Is that still a thing or no?
Shit, we've got to get our masks. Yeah, we had our friend Marty design a logo, and I kind of think the reason he was designing the logo was like a shy guy from Mario. That's to me, I think what he was going for, to be honest. I don't know. I should ask him. But it kind of goes with the theme of something going on underneath. So we kind of, I think, adopted that that moniker in a way of like, it's an outward projection of being shy. It's an outward symbol of being shy.
Are you guys still shy? Were you guys ever shy? You did a talent show. Making you really rethink everything.
Good point. I mean, I still would classify us as shy, but yeah, I mean, you can't be too shy, otherwise nothing would get done.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think like a shy kid doesn't necessarily mean you don't have a lot going on in your head. It just means it's internal. And so I think that I think that that's more the shy kid that we are than people say that all the time. They're like, you're not very shy. It's like, maybe, but if you really get to know us, I think we reveal ourselves to be more shy than.
So you're nice when people first meet you, and then the more they know you, you're shy, and then you don't want to talk to them.
Like the opposite of most friendships develop.
I think that's just being
more closed off, as you know.
Yeah. No, I just think it's like it's
a state of being. It's not necessarily something that you behave as. It's just like, I think it's always just.
If you just say shy kid, it's kind of just evokes just a sense, a feeling. I think we just like the thing it stirs in people, that combination of words.
Yeah, I like it. So you went from doing this talent show and meeting each other and all that. So what was the next step? You graduated, and then did you guys start touring, or were you touring in college and university?
Well, or in university, we put out an EP with called Field Trips, which got a bit of play on early 2010s internet, stuff like blogs and stuff. But we did a couple of live shows, but they were all kind of bare bones, and we were sort of figuring out what that live show could look like. And in the meantime, to help fund that, Matt and I, who had both had somewhat animation backgrounds, had started doing like explainer videos and stuff for certain startups around Toronto, just to kind of help pay the bills. So we were sort of moving that direction in terms of business, while keeping music on the side as sort of this thing that we were still figuring out. And then in our final year of film school, Walter and I, having now become pretty dang close, for our thesis project, we pitched doing a short film that was set entirely on a kid's computer screen. Mostly because we didn't want to be worried about big sets, big budgets, all that stuff that comes with.
And we spent a lot of time on computers.
Yeah. And it felt like an honest story to us.
So that film was called Noah, and it won our university's film talent show for film. And then it got into the Toronto International Film Festival, which is quite a prestigious festival, and it won that. And that year, TIFF had partnered with YouTube to put all the short films online. And so our film went online, and because it was the first film or one of the first films that was set on a computer screen, people watched it on a computer screen and were like really impressed by it, and it went really viral. And so it won the film festival, it won the Toronto Film Festival, and it had like millions of views online. And so as we were making music and doing that plan of like, how do we tour and be a band, we had this like tidal wave of a film project that we kind of made very, modestly, became like a really big hit. So we kind of said, let's follow this wave as it seems to be a good one. And from that, we got sort of calls from all over the show, from like Ben Stiller and magazines and all this kind of stuff. And we were really like the flavor of the month for film. And so we kind of like, just kept going with that. And in the meantime, we were like, let's keep making music as we do that. And these people don't even care that we make music. So we can just kind of do it almost like secretly. And hopefully we can make music that can influence our films, and films that can influence our music. And we've just kind of continued from there. So
we ended up folding that animation thing that Matt and I were doing. Like, why don't we just, the three of us, get together and take this film opportunity and just call it Shy Kids? Let that be the band and the filmmakers. It'll just be us kind of doing it all together. And that's just kind of how it went after that.
And who adds what to like the group? Like, do one of you guys know how to shoot better than edit, or who does what usually when it comes to filmmaking, and who does what when it comes to making music?
Matt's our tech guy. Kind of all the tech questions go to him.
Walter, it was a joke because of the webcam.
Yeah, hit me up. IT, computers.
Yeah, Walter is a very talented director and has a lot of vision and writes and kind of is the driving force behind the big stuff. Matt and I, coming from more post-production backgrounds, bring a lot to the animation and graphics and editing side of things.
They do the actual work.
Hell yeah.
And then in terms of cinematography, it's kind of it's a Rolodex of collaborators we like working with to help bring stuff to life.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Everybody is quite multi-hyphenate, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like, at least not for the time being, like the same way that there's saxophones on our album. None of us really play saxophone, but we know someone who can play saxophone. And similar, if you see a project where we have, hand-drawn animation that our friend for like the I Was in New York video, our friend Carly did all the hand-drawn animations. So the thing that I like about the name Shy Kids 2 is it kind of like anyone can join the gang, as long as they follow the tenets or whatever, the strict rules and regulations. But yeah, so we've always kind of grown and expanded depending on what music we're making or what film we're making. Sometimes we make everything like by ourselves, and sometimes that core group expands to include producers and directors of photography and saxophone players and etc.
Hell yeah, that's dope. What keeps you guys like together and working well together?
I mean, a decade of figuring out how to do it helps. It definitely, you go through a lot as a band and as business partners that I think.
And as friends.
Oh yeah.
In that.
Legally obliged.
I just mean like friends to me is where it starts, but it's like once you start to introduce all these other responsibilities is where that stress can be introduced to relationships. And I think because we've been through so much and worked out different, like how to actually talk to each other and how to work together, it's an investment in those relationships. So it would be wild now after working to streamline and make this thing work so well to like ever go and try to do it somewhere else when it's working so well here.
I think it's kind of like a brotherhood at this point. Like I think at the 10-year mark, you should get some sort of like DNA test or something like that to prove that. But I think that the other thing is that we've been able to make so many things and so many diverse things because everyone has their own talents. And like in terms of what Matt does, like Matt learned guitar by like he doesn't know very many covers on guitar, but just kind of picked up a guitar and learned it. And I watched him because we all lived together. I watched him do the same with piano, where he just like doesn't know any other songs other than our songs and even sometimes those, but just sat at the piano and like learned piano. And what's really amazing about that, like a very modern example of how effective that is we produced a film called Therapy Dogs and won Slam Dance last year. It's an amazing film by this guy named Ethan Eng. And he had all these songs inside of the film that he couldn't clear. And like over the weekend, it was like, what are we going to do about trying to clear this stroke song? Like, I don't have the strokes on speed dial. And Matt showed a demo of a song that he made on piano, and Ethan just used that song. And so that's a pretty amazing thing as a filmmaker to have one of my favorite composers constantly composing stuff. Similarly, if Matt makes a a song, maybe we can make visuals to it, or we can try something like that. So I think that it's this kind of constant Ouroboros of like what's influencing what and who's helping who, and but yeah, that's like a really amazing thing to have in your back pocket, of someone who can create unbelievable songs on a piano. And like, I can't play piano, and yeah, so that's a really cool, that's an amazing thing just to have around.
Right. So is filming and music happening like simultaneously at the same time for the most part then?
Generally,
Yeah.
I think music is always going to be the
Action.
music's always going to be on the go because it's how you stay sane, I think, working on that stuff. And it's I mean, film, I think like the music stuff is always a little bit larger in scope. They're like, it's a little bit, it's cooking under the surface, whereas the film projects we work on, or graphics projects we work on as a production company, are kind of coming and going and coming and going, and there's tighter turnarounds, whereas music we take our time with and work to make something that is worth the time.
Right.
Yeah, we generally
we'll like be at the studio like working on film thing, and then come home and play some music. So yeah, it's simultaneous, I think, at least for me.
Yeah, and I think like just because of the way that we are when we're talking about a song, like if you were to describe a song, you can go, yeah, make that a G or whatever. But I think generally we kind of talk in more visual terms, and we're always talking, this sounds like this, or I imagine this when I hear this song. And so when you have that in your head, then you can kind of like, it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from like what a music video would be. So if you're kind of writing lyrics and having a song, in some ways you're like painting a picture in your head. And so then it's like a quick step to there. And then for other film projects, you know, we're working for big companies, and it's like, how do we clear music? It's like, well, we could put our own oh, like that music in the trailer, that's actually us. So it's like, yeah, it's a very oftentimes the film side doesn't know about the music side, and then they're like, I looked you up on Spotify, and wow, guys, what's been going on here? So that's a fun treat.
Yeah, it's something we've been working on in the last few years to better, I hate the term synergize, but to like bring them together and have them speak to each other a bit more.
Right. So you guys released Noah and gained all this traction, and what happened from there? Like, was it like ups and downs, or did it stay up, or what happened?
The ups. Up. Hockey stick. Yeah, I don't know.
Very messy terrain after that, for sure.
Yeah, we got brought down to the States to have a lot of meetings and pitch the next thing, which we didn't quite have as ready to go as we probably should have. But we were down there like big-eyed, just taking it all in and saying a bunch of wild stuff to these people about what we could do next. The most wild of which seems to be we're working on an album, because nobody cares to hear that.
Yeah, their eyes just glazed over. And that Lofty came out after Noah, right?
Yeah, Lofty was 2015, which was our first. Yeah. That was our first LP, and that was put out. That was built of songs we've been working on for like 3 or 4 years, and that was 2 years after we did Noah.
And so that group of music compromised. Well, we all lived in a loft together, which is partially where the name comes from. And that album was very kind of had a multitude of sounds on it. And it had the song Rockets, where everyone was like, what is your next film project? And we're like, we're going to make this music video out of candy, and people are going to lose their minds. And people did really like the music video, but we were coming down off this high of Noah that had millions of views and write-ups and blah, blah, blah. And I think when we released Rockets, we were like, okay, here come the write-ups. They're just figuring it out and they're just going to write it. And yeah, so we had that album, which kind of encapsulated a lot of the time spent together kind of pre-Noah and a little bit post it. And we were pitching film projects, and it was like a comedy of errors, as like nothing was going through, but we would get these occasional, like, we would work on stuff, not like our own ideas or stuff like that. We would instead do a lot of work for other people. So if like people, because Noah was so like about computers and stuff, if someone wanted a text message in their film, they like came to us to, you know, talk to the youth. And so we had some projects like that and worked on them. And then that experience kind of being in America and that chaotic time, I think is what influenced In a State, which was our second album. And it had a very different, maybe it's not that different of a sound, but we thought it was more instrumental. And by instrumental, I mean like a bigger band with horns, and
it was definitely more traditional in terms of instrumentation.
More traditional.
Yeah.
And we met this like crazy record producer who like promised us the moon of like, yeah, like you guys can go into the studio and we'll have a string section and all that stuff. And we did, and that's what In a State came to be. And we decided that what was wrong about the last album was we didn't make a music video for every single song. And so we made a music video for every single song off In a State. And that kind of works as like a 30-minute visual album. Where we made all the music and all the visuals for it, basically.
Hell yeah. That's super dope. And what year is this by now?
That came out in early 2018, February of 2018, I believe.
Hell yeah. So you started finding like your footing in 2018, you'd say?
No. Footing.
I would say that I'm still searching for solid ground.
Yeah, throughout all of that too, in terms of the presence as a live band as well, we were still trying to figure out what exactly we were. I mean, the initial run of live stuff was a lot of like samplers and keyboards and reverby, delay, vocal effects, very like trying to be psychedelic and trippy. And then we kind of went the other way when we went with like for In a State with all the bigger band stuff. It was like, okay, let's do guitars, bass, drums. And then we can bring players on when we can afford them and when they're free.
And also we tried with our live shows to like, which we did successfully actually a few times. Like we wanted to play with like visuals going on because visuals were such an important part. So we would show up to like these little bars and stuff with like, okay, where does our jumbo screen go in our projector?
Right.
And like, we would set up like full on like movie.
Yeah, we had like long production meetings to play these like 6-band showcases where we get 30-minute sets. Big production meetings about, okay, where is the projector going to go in relation to the drum kit to rear project in front of us? So you could see all these promoters when we'd turn up be like, we'd be walking in with like big seat stands. And they'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then it was like, yeah, some band would be wrapping up and we'd be like hustling to get on stage like, and like with like our own rodents, just like setting up this
like
stuff.
Setting up not only our instruments and like, oh, it would be so killer when like some guys just sitting there at the drum kit like, how's that bass sound? And we're like, dude, we have to get the screen, the projector, the syncing of the audio and all this stuff. Yeah. And so like,
no, it was, when a sound guy would come out and be like, I don't think we're going to be able to do a line check for you guys. We'd be like, you are in trouble if you don't know what we're bringing on stage.
So we like,
kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
What we eventually settled on, and I think have always been our best shows, is starting in 2015, around the release of Lofty, we were like, why don't we just organize a night where we be in control of everything. Sure, we'll go out of pocket on it, but we'll be able to invite all of our friends, anybody we think might be interested or who could like help broadcast the word, rent out a space, spend all day getting it set up, and then do like a full experience with visuals, with costumes, with decorations, magicians, comedians,
DJs.
And those always ended up being like, that is what I think if anybody who went to a Shy Kids show in Toronto in those years, if they would be to like rank their favorite, it would definitely be those nights. Because
yeah, and some of them were really cool. Like for In a State, because we had this live album, we basically like live scored
or visual album.
We like live scored it. So we like played the album verbatim live, but then in the back, everyone could like watch the show, but then they could also watch the film. And it was kind of like, that's our dream. But when you're just a small band, it's kind of hard to be like, you know, what's your laser light show like here? So I think because of that, and because the film work that we were getting was so all encompassing, we kind of took a back seat, like we're the Beatles. We took a back seat to live performing and focused more on making studio songs, and especially singles. And so that is where like the string of singles of like Backwards in Love, I Love Everything, Recent Times, Don't Delete Me, that's where all those songs kind of came from, because we kind of realized like we're not going to make it probably in the conventional ways of touring and picking up a couple fans each night. We're probably more likely to hit it big by releasing songs and releasing videos for those songs, and that can really do a lot of the promotion for us. So yeah, that kind of takes us almost to now, because that's what we've been doing the last couple of years, is releasing singles. And now we're geared up to start releasing new music, which we have some ready to go, and we have some on the way. And there's also a lot of big film projects that we have kind of coming out, and that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it was currently kind of ironically kicking off with the worst year of a lot of people's lives. The 2020 is where things started to, if you were to talk about finding footing, that's where opportunities really started to like kick into gear for us. We signed with a label, Everything Forever, which is a Vancouver based label.
Oh wow. Do you have to like, how do you get there then, or do you ever visit there, or how do you?
We haven't. They've been in town here once or twice. We haven't made it out there yet, but
yeah,
they're great.
It's so interesting because, well, you say like 2020, which was a bad year for everybody. It's like locked inside, nobody's leaving their house. That sounds like a shy kid all day. And so
yeah.
We've been practicing that. We've been practicing isolation for a long time. So we were bred in isolation. And we signed to a label. And how did they hear us? That's an interesting. Oh, you know how? I can tell you exactly how. I saw this guy on TikTok whose name is Tyler, who is the head of the label. And he had a TikTok that was like, is there any new music that I haven't heard? And I was like, us. And he listened to us and he was like, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, yeah, TikTok really works. And actually, he just went viral on TikTok. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but like have you guys seen this?
The Wordle thing?
Yeah, he was like on Wordle. Pardon? Sorry, Matt?
I didn't see it. I'm just wondering what he did.
He was on Wordle and he guessed the word, and the word was CHORD, and he couldn't figure out what the word was. He's like, chored. He's like, what is chored? And then the best part of the video is when he realizes it's chord, and he's a musician who plays guitar, I believe, and he's like, oh my god. And you just see him like, but yeah, TikTok, it can bring us all together. That's
100%.
Yeah.
Or mind control us, either one.
Same thing.
That's a good point. But so basically, I like to say this podcast is like, it's by artists for artists, you know. So like, your journeys are important for like the fans to hear, but also for other artists to hear. So would you say that when you guys found your footing or purpose and focused on something, that's when things started to connect, or do you just think it was a culmination of everything that happened over the years?
I mean, it's so hard to say.
Mm.
I mean, footing was as a result of opportunities that were very clear to us, that were granted to us, that then kind of forced us to really kind of lock in. But I don't. It's very hard to say whether that is the reason or if it's because of the many years before that of like working to figure it out. That of course it's going to click in place eventually.
Were there moments where you're like, "Fuck, we're about to make it"? Because I feel like I tell all my friends, don't have hope. Like you should really just focus on what you're doing. Like one of my friends, they're about to release a new album, and they're like, all I need is music videos for every single song, and then that's it. It's I'm gonna win. That's what's gonna happen. And I'm like, I don't. And then as the moment you say this is my year, I'm like, it's not gonna be your year if you're like that. That's my take at least.
I mean, I think all of our most rewarding and positive outcomes have always come on the heels of something we went into with no grand expectation, and we just went to it to make the thing that we wanted to make. And I think that all the most crushing defeats have been at the foot of large expectations, where we go in saying this is going to blow everyone's minds.
Yeah, and what's the saying? Like, expectation is the thief of joy, or something like that. And I think that that's like largely true. And I think that, yeah, with like the Rockets story, we thought Rockets was going to be so big, and we thought candy companies would reach out to us and ask us to make ads and like all this kind of stuff. And I think that a lot of the times when you're like expecting one thing, you're blinded to maybe what the actual opportunities are. And when you're not in expecting and you're in a place where you're in accepting and, you know, kind of moving with the way that the tides are moving or the way that the wind is blowing, I think that oftentimes you can just find yourself in more interesting places than when you're rigid and you're going to do that. That being said, like when we made Backwards in Love, which is our most listened to song, we all were like, this is the best. This should be the single for sure. So I think it's not entirely honest to be like, we had no clue every time we had a success. It's like sometimes you do have a little bit of an inkling that, oh, this is a pop song, or oh, this can cast a wide net. But I think that I think the footing is actually being more comfortable with being on shaky ground necessarily than it is we found some solid footing. It's more just we've spent a long time in limbo. So like now we know how to limbo, and now we know how to dance and move around and be fluid. Whereas before we might have been less so.
Fair enough. I have one question about Backwards in Love. Why are the Chinese characters on the cover art?
Have you seen the video?
I have not. Oh shit. Is it like related to the video?
See the video. That makes sense.
So I believe so. Yeah, they are Chinese. They are Mandarin, correct?
I took Mandarin for 3 years.
There you go.
Well, you should know then. So the video that we did, it's a one-take video, and the video was shot at a karaoke bar in Koreatown. And the concept for the video was it was just going to be one long zoom in that we shoot backwards so that the film will start zoomed in completely and end on like everyone kind of partying in the karaoke place. So at those karaoke places, they have these like weird, like they have the song. So they would have Backwards in Love or whatever song, and they would have these crazy like auto-generated music videos, and then they would also have like translations underneath the video, and sometimes they were in Mandarin, sometimes they were in Korean,
The reason I went with Mandarin was because I knew a person who could translate our song. And so it just it looked like those videos you get at a karaoke bar. So yeah, so we shot it at this karaoke bar, and Pat had to learn the song backwards at like 5 times the speed.
Very roughly. Almost nailed it every time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so that's why there is
we're going off the translator's word. So I don't know, you've seen the cover. Is it how bad is it? Is it
I forget everything, and because when I took it in like everyone in my class was already like Chinese, and I was like the only black kid or the only person that wasn't Chinese also. So everyone would get like A's. It was like they were doing like the alphabet for them, basically. It was like if you were in college learning the alphabet. Like everyone knew what was going on, so it was just an easy A. And then like if I failed like a test or something, everyone would know. So to keep up with the class, I would just like memorize everything and then just basically like throw it up on the test. So I never really learned it that well, which is disappointing. Like maybe if I did, what is it? Duolingo or whatever, one of those apps, maybe.
I don't know. That Duolingo is like, none of the sentences are applicable in life.
My partner she's learning Spanish. Well, she spoke Spanish growing up, but she's relearning it, and she was just doing it last night in bed, and I could hear it from the other room. Just the voice actor was like a young kid, and it was just going like, Papa, Papa, and it sounded very dire. Whatever sentence was trying to be translated, it was like it's a lot.
That's great. So you guys just recently released drone music. What is drone music?
Drone music is a soundtrack.
Yeah.
This is one of the first big marriages we were talking about of music and film.
But it doesn't sound like you've seen the film. So we made a film called Jeff.
Wait, where are you guys releasing these films? I haven't seen any of your films, and I tried my best to do research, and I'm a fan. Trust me, I'm not just like. So like
you stumbled upon us through the music, so that's the channel you've found yourself in. There's a lot of stuff going on the outside though.
Yeah, so it's actually, you can find the film on a website called Short of the Week, or if you look up Jeff Amazon drone, you should be able to find it. A lot of our film stuff is on our YouTube, but not this. This one was released through Short of the Week. So it was a film about an Amazon delivery drone making a drop off in the apocalypse, and that's an interesting story. So we thought we were going to make a different film about these 2 little girls, but the little girls, on the day that we were shooting, the one little girl, Kira, who's like the cutest little devil, she just like decided she didn't want to read any of the script. And so we had this film that like we didn't have the entire script, so it didn't really work. So we changed the plot of the film to be mainly from the perspective of the drone. And the song that was on it is a song that Matt wrote called Walk to the Store. And it's a very beautiful kind of instrumental melodic piece, and it's the main piece of music in the short film. And so we released it with the title Drone Music, because like that's a funny name because it's about a drone. But we just wanted those songs to get out there and get listened to them. And there is a Walk to the Store, which is the main song that's in the film, as well as just a beautiful instrumental. And then there's a cover from our good pal Mallory, who's Pat's partner, as well as an excellent musician in her own right. If you heard the song 5 Years, that was a cover of one of her songs. And then
it's a cover of a David Bowie song.
Sorry,
yeah.
I meant
21 years.
1 years. Sorry.
Yeah, 5 years. She did a cover of a Bowie song called 5 Years for the credits. And
yes, which is the credit sequence of the film. Sorry.
if you've listened to the song, our cover of her song called 21 Years, that's her as well. She's also been featured on some of our other songs. I Don't Want the World to End.
Mm-hmm.
And then our last song is a version of Walk to the Store that has a poem underneath it. And that poem is the soundtrack to the other version of Jeff, which
with
was
the two girls.
which with the two girls, which we still have all the beautiful footage of and will release one day. But yeah, we just our friend Liz wrote this beautiful poem, and we put the poem over top of the song Walk to the Store. So still have to release that. I'm not sure when we will, but yeah, that's a convoluted answer, but that's where drone.
One more song that Pat ended up calling No New Deliveries, which was like, I guess it's sort of like the halfway point of the film, and it sort of like builds off Walk to the Store, but it it's a real different take on it. I was watching those Baraka movies, Baraka, and what's the other one?
Samsara.
Yeah. There's like such beautiful music in those movies, so tried to make something like that. So the film kind of had a flavor of that. So there's like this weird Gregorian choir kind of thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Damn. That's kind of cool because like Seattle, that's where Amazon's based. So maybe we can connect over your Amazon drone in this being a Seattle podcast.
I've always wanted to visit their like weird office that looks like a treehouse or whatever.
Oh, the biosphere.
Yeah, the biosphere.
Yeah, the two big fucking balls, and there's like a playground underneath it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I've heard it's really cool, but I've read so much about Amazon and Jeff Bezos, and so I feel like I know about Seattle.
Maybe has Jeff Bezos seen your video? You should like.
I don't know. I always wanted to like find out where he's staying and fly a drone with like a USB attached to it, like drop it off to him. But hopefully after everyone hears your podcast, it'll get to him, you know?
Yeah. My friends, it's kind of like lateral to Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates, my friends in high school used to like run onto his property and get chased off by the security guards for fun. So these people
fly drones.
they should have had drones, and then it would have been easier. So supposedly, I just recently learned this, even though I'm from Seattle. I guess to be a true Seattleite, you're supposed to not like Amazon. That's what I've heard. But I'm going to try to push this message of this short film. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet. I thought there was just the soundtrack. I didn't even know the thing was out yet.
Yeah, I also don't know if I would classify the short as particularly pro Amazon.
Okay.
Or anti. Like I still buy books from Amazon, and
as it was originally intended.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Amazon. It's interesting. It kind of feels like inevitable. Kind of just feels like one company to rule them all. I mean, obviously, homogeny discourages unique beauty. But also it kind of feels like the way we're going, it's all just going to become one megacorp anyways. I guess it's just like, which god do you want to worship? And I don't know if Jeff Bezos is the one I want to necessarily worship. Anyway, sorry, that's it.
Dun. You guys got to come on my conspiracy podcast. I have a second podcast. I could tell you guys are into conspiracies. Probably it looks like you guys are.
Wow, I don't know what that means, but thanks.
I'm dead. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys would like to promote before we ask the final question?
Ooh. Oh, final question. That sounds exciting.
When
talk about Any
Yeah,
new stuff, guys?
when does this drop?
Probably within the next week or so. Yeah. I've done like
Wow.
3. Wait, what?
Yeah, there's stuff immediately on the horizon. Very close. Very close. The start of the next run of stuff.
Yeah, we have some new music coming out. We have some films that are in the process of being finalized. Yeah, so it's a very exciting time if you want to follow our YouTube and our Instagram and stuff like that. We're point you into some interesting directions. I'm curious though, what conspiracy do you believe to be true? Like if you were to bet all your money on one conspiracy, what would it be?
Fuck, I don't. Adrenochrome. Probably.
Damn,
Go big.
wow. Okay.
Or no, actually, at least Moloch. That was proven, right? I think
Alex
that.
Jones' famous.
What's
first
that?
film.
What'd you say? You guys broke up.
I said Alex Jones's famous first film, the
Yeah.
god of Moloch, the owl god that the Skull and Bones organization worships, and like Alex Jones went and had all this footage that he shot from the forest across as all these people from, isn't it Yale, that were worshiping this like, paganistic owl god.
Yeah. That's fucking
Really?
wild.
Yeah.
And then we
I
have.
remember Alex Jones' his early work.
Have you guys seen Andrew Callahan's new HBO movie yet?
Yeah.
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 It was all right.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not really conspiracy though.
Yeah, that's true. That one
I
was.
mean, let's talk about. I mean, it features Q as a prominent subject of conversation.
Yeah.
That conspiracy.
Oh, I see.
Right.
I still don't know much. Is Q? Is that supposed to be a person, or I don't still understand how that.
Q's an idea, bro. We're all Q.
Wait, are there Canadians that are Q? Like,
Probably, yeah.
For sure.
what are like? Is like the U.S. conspiracies?
It all bleeds. It all like the smoke rises from the party.
What's
Us
it-
upstairs, we get poisoned.
the
as
meth
easily.
fumes.
Yes.
What Canadians are like U.S. conspiracies better than Canadian conspiracies, or are we all like? Are these all like human race conspiracies at this point?
The best one that I know that's like Canadian specific is that Justin Trudeau is Castro's son.
Oh.
Because Justin Trudeau, his dad, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the wife, what was her name? Mary?
Don't remember.
She was like a really cool lady, and she would like hang out with the Rolling Stones, and a lot of Pierre Elliott Trudeau's like messaging was like, don't ask what's going on in the bedroom. So anyways, there's a lot of rumors that he's actually Fidel Castro's son. And if you look at young pictures,
If you look at those photos, it's
crazy.
convincing. It's pretty convincing.
It's crazy. But aside from that, I don't know.
That's wild. Okay, so final question. Pretty straightforward, but record labels, what's the pros and cons for up and coming artists that are considering wanting to be part of a record label?
I think it's interesting because in Canada, the grant system we have is like a big opportunity maker for artists.
Mm-hmm.
Labels, for better or for worse, are like the entry point into that system. But just by nature of being recognized and having track records and a certain amount of cash flow, they'll just be looked at favorably. So it's a great way to access funds. That's Canada specific though.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in a more spiritual sense that having people who support you is almost as necessary as making the thing, because you can make music, but if no one supports you, then it's really hard to keep going. And a lot of the times record labels can get a really bad rap, because rightfully so, there's been a lot of crappy deals and things like that. But I think like the reason we signed with Everything Forever was because we saw a TikTok video and we liked it and we liked the people behind it. And to have people believe in you, I think that's a really amazing feeling and can help boost your confidence, but furthermore can like boost your trajectory, because they can tell you, they can show you off to other people. And sometimes, especially when you're shy, it's a little bit difficult to pump your own stuff. And sometimes it's really nice to have somebody, especially Tyler, for example, is in a band called Said the Whale, which is a great Canadian band. And they, you know, have their own reach of fans. And for him to say, you should really check these guys out is really great. As well as another great thing on a label is you can have a community of collaborators that can help make a music video for you, or can help take pictures, or can open for you, and all that kind of stuff. So while I think there is a lot of crappy labels, and rightfully so, that system is kind of getting cannibalized, I think that there is a lot of value to having people help bang the drum for you.
It's about looking at it more as a community, which is, I think, one of the things that we talked about early on with Everything Forever, our label, about was like, that was what they were after, was not a traditional label, but making something that felt more like a community of artists that can support each other and work together.
Well,
so yeah, I would
certainly was like, for us, since we're like, we have the film stuff and the music stuff, can just get a little hectic, like scheduling and getting everything organized. And so just working with these guys, like there's like a spreadsheet, it's like they need this by this date, and it just kind of gives us like a nice structure to inhabit, since we're just kind of a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
For us specifically. I imagine it's different for every band.
I also think that there is sometimes people who have bad experiences with labels, not all the time. Like, again, labels have their bad rap, probably for good reason. But I would say that sometimes the artist is unclear with what they expect from the label and how their relationship's supposed to work. So sometimes I think if you would like to get into a label or a label situation, it's really good to have like a set of expectations, because I think a lot of the time with art, it's like, what is a successful piece of art? Is it something that has a lot of listens, or is it something that's creatively fulfilling, or is it something that lets you make the next thing, or whatever it is? I think like the more that you can be clear up front with whoever your collaborators are, that this is what our expectation is, I think that that can be a way that can minimize the amount of crappy feelings towards a label. And I would say that that's another thing in this past year that I've really grown a lot in, is I want to start, before getting into bed with a label or producers or whatever, I want to be very clear up front as to what is our goals, what are we going to achieve them, and if we are not driving in that direction, then how do we break apart? Because like, you know, when you work on a film with someone, that's like a year of your life, maybe 2 years. So you got to really want to like being around those people. Same with music. You're entrusting the most personal thing that you have to people. So you better make sure that you like them and you can get along with them and you can have difficult conversations with them. Just like a relationship, you should be able to communicate. And so sometimes I think artists have these grand expectations of what a label can do. And I would say that if you're upfront about what that is, then if the label is not
fulfilling that, it's very easy to be like, hey, we said we were going to do X, Y, and Z, and we're not accomplishing that. So is this relationship worth continuing? Can we change this, or should we say our goodbyes? And yeah, but it's easier to do that up front than it is retroactively.
100%. So with that, do you guys have any final advice for up and coming artists, creators, influencers? Stay woke.
Yeah. Get on TikTok. Push that stuff. Make your songs short, digestible.
I don't know. I would just say make stuff for you.
Yeah, that is always the biggest thing.
It's like the stupid advice, but you're going to be the one who has to live with it around your neck forever. And so make sure it's something that you like. And inevitably, there's going to be songs that you make that retroactively you look back at them and go, oh, that was stupid, like past video game songs. But I think you should be proud of all that stuff.
Oh, thanks, man.
I want to hear the Halo one, though.
God.
You didn't even want to do Beyonce's Halo.
Wasn't out yet.
Right. But yeah, I just think like just make stuff, and people are like will constantly tell you what they think works, and that's always old news, and only you know what works, because if you make music, you're probably a really big music fan and you probably know what's missing. And so I would just say don't get discouraged when people try to box you in. The people that are the most interesting are the people who don't listen to that stuff. And those are the people that we write about and think about because they're doing something interesting. So make stuff that you like, and with reason, don't listen to the detractors because it's stupid. It's only you know what you are. So don't let anyone else tell you what you are.
What's the easiest way to reach you guys?
You can find us on our Instagram at @ShyKids_. @ShyKids_.
Yep.
Some kid has been parking Shy Kids for 10 years now. We can't get that username from
He's
him.
also got ShyKids.com. To all the people of Seattle, please send our film Jeff to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, we're on Spotify too, and YouTube.
Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music.
And this podcast will be available on Amazon Podcasts. So
Brilliant.
there we go.
Nice.
This is the NAST Podcast with
Patrick.
Walter.
Matt.
and you guys are
Shy
Kids.
Good.